Hi, welcome to the SDP. I'm sure you recognize this thing, the Zapper light gun for the Nintendo Entertainment System. See, it was a risky proposition for Nintendo to launch their new console in the US after the crash of '83. So they sweetened the deal with a deluxe SKU featuring two peripherals, the Zapper and Rob, the robotic operating buddy. But while Rob faded into obscurity, the Zapper continued to thrive for most of the NES's lifespan.
So how does it work? Simply put, when you pull the trigger, you may notice that the screen flashes black with the targets covered by white squares. The Zapper reacts based on whether it sees a white or black image, so in essence it's like a camera.
What kind of film does it take? 120?
No, 0.220 high velocity.
Also, it finds its location based on the edges of your TV screen, and since it's designed for CRT sets like these, if you've got one of those new flat-screen projection TVs, sorry, you're out of luck. Oh, and the original models were colored gray and white, but somewhere around '89 they switched to orange and white, thanks to an FCC ruling which stated that toy guns have to look like toy guns. But from what I've seen, both are equally common. Have fun!
Now, in terms of games, I'm sure everyone with a Zapper knows about Duck Hunt, but I don't deal in stuff everyone knows about. So I'm here to showcase 3 Zapper-compatible games time seems to have given a pass over. Gotcha the Sport was one of the first titles by publisher LJN, released in November 1987 alongside Jaws and the Karate Kid. As with almost all of LJN's games, it's based on a movie, although this one is more obscure. The movie, simply titled Gotcha, was released in 1985 and involves a paintball player trying to escape from East Berlin. The game, on the other hand, puts you in a capture-the-flag paintball competition.
You have 3 lives and a limited supply of ammo, but for some reason your ammo count only goes down if you miss. Shooting small boxes of ammo will give you more shots, and a life will be traded for 10 shots if you run out. If you're hit or run out of ammo with no lives left, the game is over. Your goal is to make it to the opponent's flag and bring it back to your base so you can move on to the next round.
This game has a rather interesting control setup. It's played using the Zapper and a controller at the same time.
The Zapper is used to shoot opponents with your paintball gun, obviously, and collect the flag at the other end of the map. That's where you have to use your controller. Holding left or right moves you along the map. You'll probably do this by holding the Zapper one-handed and the controller in your other hand. If you want to try some other method, be my guest, but don't expect the same level of control.
As basic as it is, the mechanic works well, and it's a shame I haven't really seen it in other places except the Wii, especially since today's light gun controllers have a D-pad built in. If you've got lots of experience with the light gun games, then this one can get boring pretty quickly. When starting up, you get to choose from 3 difficulty levels.
The easiest setting will bore professional shooters rather quickly, but it's easy to get shot on the hardest setting unless you're eagle-eyed. There are only 3 locations, forest, city, and snowfield, and the game loops through them endlessly until you lose, so it won't be long until you see everything the game has to offer.
But that never stopped Donkey Kong, and we all know how well that turned out. Very well, actually. The graphics in this game are what I'd call decent.
Since you're using paintballs, enemies you shoot will put their hands up, drop their gear, and run off screen. What a cute way to tone down the violence. The sound design, however, is pretty terrible. The music for each of the 3 settings is a minimal 5-second loop. Whenever an enemy is aiming at you or has captured your flag, the music changes to an even more annoying loop, and when it goes away, the old music starts over from the beginning.
Given the repetitive nature of Gotcha the Sport, I'm not sure how much I can recommend it, even if you're bored to death of Duck Hunt.
Regardless of the results, I just have to applaud its technical innovation of letting you move and shoot with a light gun at the same time. And as with a number of less popular NES titles, if you need a game to kill a little time with, you could do far worse than Gotcha the Sport. It scores 70%, a C+.
That's right, there's a good LJN game out there. Eat that, angry video game nerd. In my quest for the perfect Zapper-compatible game, I have come up with the following conclusion. They're all really short. There are the games that repeat short levels endlessly, or those that have a finite story that is over before you get into it. Freedom Force, oddly, has some of both qualities. Although you only get 5 levels before looping back and doing them again, the prospect of clearing it 4 times in a row should keep you coming back for more, if you can handle it.
The game itself is a glorified shooting gallery, specifically something like Hogan's Alley on steroids. As you slowly pan through a location, you must shoot terrorists as they pop out from behind cover, whilst not shooting hostages and civilians as they do likewise. And these aren't cardboard cutouts either. Everyone's been given a few frames of animation, and there's even a tame amount of blood. If you let an enemy go for too long, they'll start shooting at you and drain your health meter. Empty either your health or ammo meter, and of course your game ends. Shooting an innocent, on the other hand, adds a point to your error meter. If you fill up your error meter with 6 strikes, you go back to the first level with your score intact. The only way to get power-ups in this game is to shoot the window in the lower right corner of the screen as something pops up inside. The health and ammo icons refill their respective meters, but nearly every time the health pickup shows up, it disappears faster than you can even react to it. Now that's just criminal. It's easier to just score points to automatically refill your health, but you can only do this twice. If an icon of a weapon shows up, you can shoot it to switch to that weapon. There is no difference between the .38 caliber handgun and the .44 Magnum other than what sound they make, but man is it a satisfying report. The grenade launcher, on the other hand, takes out multiple people when you pull the trigger, and unfortunately this includes civilians, so avoid this. The final icon type makes the game harder by having more people appear at a faster rate. If you pile on the harder items, you'll be shooting almost constantly, which was enough of a challenge for a time crisis veteran such as myself.
The plot, paper thin it may be, suits the game's genre well enough.
First, you rescue an airplane that has been hijacked on the ground, and then you proceed through the airport for the next 3 scenes. The 5th and final scene jumps straight to the Mastermind's hideout. Like the last game, this game ends before you start to get into it. Clear the 5th level, and you get what can barely be called a cinematic before going to the first airplane scene.
You're supposed to get a different ending if you clear the game 4 times in a row. I haven't made it that far, but it's a neat thing to work for and gives this game some much-needed replay value. After clearing each 2nd and 4th level, you get to play a minigame called Code Breakers.
This is a hangman type game wherein you are given a category and must shoot letters to select them. The catch is that you can only shoot the letters that are lit up. This group of 4 letters cycles to the next each second. Since the hitbox for these letters is smaller than the people you shoot in the main game, if your light gun's accuracy is fading, it'll be hard to pick out the letter you want. You're done when you make 5 mistakes, run out of time, or finish the puzzle. A time bonus is awarded if you complete the puzzle, but you don't lose anything if you can't make it.
1992's Lethal Enforcers may have modernized the light gun genre, but many of its facets can be seen here in a game 4 years older. Even more shocking is the fact that, for the most part, it all works.
Concepts such as power-ups and hostages to avoid are things that have been ingrained into the minds of gamers who have ever frequented arcades in the 90s. While I can't guarantee whether or not they first appeared here in Freedom Force, this is still well ahead of its time and offers just enough replay value to warrant a purchase from light gun fans. Freedom Force scores 75%, a B-.
We end our Zapper retrospective with a title called To the Earth. In this game, you control a spaceship which must travel all the way from the planet Neptune back to Earth, hence the title. There are 4 stages in this game where you travel to Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, and finally Earth.
Hey, wait a minute. They left out a mission to Mars. I'll tell you one thing, Sailor Mars ain't gonna be happy about that.
Oh yeah, that's real thoughtful of you.
Maybe it was on the opposite end of its orbit or something, but more than likely, they could only make 4 levels and didn't care where they started. Gameplay is simple enough, you just shoot down as many enemy spacecraft as possible with your Zapper. One thing you'll notice is that every time you shoot and miss, your health will go down a bit. The other way to lose health is if an enemy drops a bomb on you, shoot them before they hit your hull to avoid taking damage. You regain a chunk of health for each enemy you hit, however, so good players won't have to worry about their health for much of the game. There are 3 kinds of items to help you along the way. Once you start causing some chaos, a red icon will appear in the lower right corner of the screen. Shoot this to trigger a bomb of your own and clear enemies off the screen. An E icon, when it appears at the lower left of your screen, instantly restores some energy, and a comet will give you a barrier, letting you take several hits without taking damage. You'll need all the help you can get since the onslaught of enemies grows faster and faster as you move on. It's enough to wear out your trigger finger, especially if you're using the original Zapper, which had a lot of resistance on the trigger.
As tough as this game is, it's rather short. Like I said, there are only 4 levels, and the whole game takes around 20 minutes to complete. That said, it's short but sweet.
Among the games I have reviewed today, it's a shame that Zapper-compatible games aren't all that meaty, but you'll appreciate the extra immersion provided by the controller, and in this case, the extra challenge. To the Earth scores 85%, a B+.
This is Kevin with Ichigo, and you are the Resistance.